All right, so let's get into the topic here because we've coroned.
We coroned this
Hell
whole
It's the
jump.
Corona cast, bro.
Corona cast.
Corona cast, bro.
All right, unruly DW. How do you want to pitch this? Get on the mound there.
Oh yeah, man. Spitball coming right at you. Pause.
Right.
Anyway, yeah. So I guess today's topic. I mean, even if we want to flow off of what's going on today, it's like, you look around, you see all these things that are closed, or you see the businesses that are open, and one of the things that are closed or they're telling people to stay away from right now would be churches. And so, some people. This is just something, I didn't write that down, but it's just something that just came all the time in my mind. Some people ask, why isn't a church considered essential, but a liquor store is considered essential? So, just in general, that just kind of brings us to the topic today of, religion, just in general, and just, your belief system, how you classify it, and things like that, and just, the place that it has, in today's society, which I guess is something that I say is especially prevalent right now, with the way that things are going, For every person that's telling you, yo, stay 6 feet apart, you had somebody's grandmother out there saying, it's okay, baby, we're going to pray it away. And, it's one of those things where, it's fine to have faith, but it's like, where does your faith fall, or how do you fit it in during these times, or how do you fit it into your life now?
Yeah.
I guess we could just start off with a simple way of just, how do you, just among us, how do you all classify your belief systems? Damn, that sounds intelligent right there.
What do you mean classify?
Like,
do you identify with?
Do you prescribe? Do you still prescribe to saying like, oh, I'm a Christian or something like that, or would you say something like, oh, okay, like I mean, I know I listened to a podcast a long time ago, and it was like, oh, people have such a rare problem with like the word Christian and just like some of the things that go into Christianity just because of some of the ways that religion makes people feel in general and some of the bad things that have been associated with it. So rather than saying I'm a Christian, the person who was a pastor was like, just say I'm a follower of Christ, something like that.
Just starting off, I mean, like a lot of us, especially in the Black community, were raised kind of just off the Baptist Christianity belief, and it might change. Like sometimes it goes into like the Muslim areas and religions and whatever beliefs. But a lot of us like we're raised as Christian, and a part that comes into me, like we growing up, like you were taught that this is all there was. This is kind of what like you pray when you kind of want something, you pray your issues away, kind of like a lot of people are doing with coronavirus. But I think, and this goes back into the access to information with our generation in particular, we grew up like being able to Google a lot of things, being able to know that people aren't as good as they seem. People have ulterior motives. People have their own reasons for changing things and pushing certain beliefs. We grew up learning that, hey, like a lot of the Christianity beliefs that we learned, not to get all Black power-ish, was from kind of a racist point of view, kind of to put on to slaves to learn a specific thing. So we have all these tools that are information. And so, this nigga dancing.
Nigga got the gap.
I'm about to say dancing, but like it does become tough. Like when you finally like grow up and you see that a lot of things aren't as they seem. You see that information could have been changed regardless of how we grew up in Bible study. I know most of us went to Bible study. We all went to a Christian school. So we went to chapel. We learned certain things. We were exposed to certain things. But as you have access to information, you see that kind of like when you get to most of the pivotal, like the main arching religions, you have a lot of people who kind of believe in the main essential things. You have a creator or a creative group. You have a belief. You have love. You have all these different essential things that drive kind of the human experience. And one thing that has like kind of changed kind of from what we grew up in Bible study is, like I said, like we see so much more. We see that things don't always play out like kind of in a like how they did in Bible stories and how like the good guy always wins and all that stuff. The good guy doesn't always win. And I think that's a part that we as people are learning. And one thing for me, particularly like as I've grown, is like for me, like I still prescribe to the Christian belief. I'm not as religious as probably the most religious person out there. But at the same time, it's like when you go through a few things in your life, you realize stuff can't all be attributed to coincidence. Stuff can't all just fall into place like just so happen to fall into place for me. And so like when you kind of realize whatever your God is, whether it's Allah, whether it's God, Jesus Christ, you know that you attribute it to some type of being that's putting your stuff into place, that's making things go a certain way. And I know it doesn't always balance out, and it's a tough conversation for folks, but like at the same time, like it's one that I think one thing I've grown to recognize as something that comes at the individual level. People go through different things, people experience different things, so like it's just one of those things. Like I've grown not to judge people from what they believe in, like because we know a God of different names, whether it's like I said, like the multitude of names that God has been given over the years. But like one thing I've learned is not to kind of judge based on your belief, and I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Wow. Damn.
Oh,
Deep.
you answered word, man. Good job.
I mean, yeah, you gotta, yeah. All right, so I was answer my system belief is Christianity. I mean, I went to, again, Christian school all my life. Family was Christian, Baptist, church, Bible study, all that. I honestly, I'm just gonna go out and say, like, I believe there's a higher power. I believe there's a God. But I also have a different take on religion sometimes. I feel like religion is a psychological like aspect that people look at to feel either good or bad about something. I think the mind sometimes can't fathom infinity, and it can't fathom different things, like in terms of afterlife. We can't fathom.
Sorry.
No, you're taking all my talking points.
Right. If I'm just saying, like, if you were to think right now about what would life look like after we pass away, you would not know. Like, you can't. Your brain, your capacity cannot do that. So someone has come up with religion to solve that problem. I honestly believe that, as we gotten older, our mind has expanded, and we see different beliefs, we see different ways that people call that higher power. And, it's true. You do sometimes question your own religion. You sometimes question other people's religion. And I think that it's just weird to me that when things go good, is me. You know what I'm saying? Like, cool, I did it. But then when things go bad, a lot of people go on that, oh my good Lord, I need you to get me out of this, man. I promise. Because it's psychological. When things are going great, it's like endorphins are going off, man. I did this all on my own, man. I did it. And then when things are bad, it's like, man, God is punishing me because I had to thank them for the times that I've done it. But it's just like, psychologically, it's like, it's an up and down. So at the end of the day, like, you look at religion, I look at religion in a way where, whoever, I hate to say this, but, somebody's going to be wrong at the end of the day. I'm sorry. Somebody's going to be wrong.
The correct answer was Mormons.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Mormons.
There's like 20 answers on what you can do. I choose God to be my answer. Just offer me. I have anything. I mean, I was taught that way, cool, but I also had opportunity. We all had opportunity to go somewhere else. We're grown men and adults. So I choose God. But there are some people, that choose other things. And at the end of the day, when all said and done, somebody gonna be right, and we might all be wrong.
Somebody gonna sign with the Lakers, and somebody gonna sign with the Bulls. Like, I mean,
I'm just saying, like, somebody gonna be right. I choose God. I'm gonna go all in on that. And I'm not against you for choosing Allah or choosing, Satanism or whatever, all that other shit. Cool.
I am God. We all God.
The black man is God in the eyes of the 5%.
Okay, so God, this is God, man.
God is in God, or God is in the black man?
Jeez. Sorry, Aki, my bad.
What do you mean, Hakeem?
What do you mean? Dr. Umar gotta get on this show.
Yeah. So, I've never really spoken about this in a public settings. This is interesting.
Here we go.
I don't. Yeah. I mean, jeez, man. I don't.
Use your words, bro. You got it.
Like, I'm not religious. Like, I'm not religious. I last time I went to church was when my aunt did something at my papa's church. Funny story. Remember that time, Malik? Like, we went out one night, and then, like, at my last apartment, we had to give parking passes, and I gave Malik an old parking pass, and I felt like getting him a new one.
Oh, man. I think about that too. To this day.
And we had to go get his car at like 3-4 in the morning, and I had to be at my Papa's church to see my aunt preach at like 8. Yo,
that was a wild night.
But that was
like, where's the car?
Yeah,
my man Aaron spiked the shit out of that motherfucker. He spiked something. He spiked this
Gatorade from McDonald's.
Gatorade.
McDonald's.
Like, we always go to McDonald's. He spiked the shit out of that. Joke probably still to this day. Nigga said, "Fuck." I said, "Oh shit."
But yeah, that was like 3 years ago. That was the last time I went to church. So again, I'm like everybody else. Like we all grew up in the church. I got my family is. I mean, it depends. Like my mom, like she's religious. Like she listens to gospel music. She goes, but she doesn't go to church every Sunday.
Gospel music.
I mean, like she believes, but she didn't go to church every day. But I also have like my papa. He retired and then he went and worked at his church. Like it was like the CFO for like years and years. He's very involved. My aunt and my uncle, they have a church. Then like they're super duper religious church people. So like it depends. I went to Christian school. We all went to the same school. Mm-hmm. So like, as far as my I don't know. Like in the last couple years, I've definitely had questions about just like the whole. As you learn more, just have questions about religion and higher powers and all that. That's to the point. Like I'm not comfortable in saying that like there is no God. Like I'm not comfortable saying that at all. So like that's not something I'm gonna say. Like I don't know about that. As far as just like organized religion to say, oh, put a label on it. I don't feel comfortable with doing that right now. I just kind of like I'm not religious. Just put it that way. Like when I first started to like have questions, move towards a more agnostic side. I used to be like antagonistic towards it, where I would sit there and go, "Oh, you believe all this shit? Oh, you believe someone got eaten by a whale? You believe somebody was nailed to a cross for 30 years?" Like, I'm not that kind of person anymore because honestly, I feel like in times like this, like religion can be a good thing. Like when people are just hopeless, I think it's good to have something to believe in. That can be. The problem is, and this is the problem I always has when you flip that and then you use it to try to govern other people's lives. That's the biggest issue I have. That's not just like, oh well, this outside of this is just logically cannot happen. Like take all that out. Is when it's cool if Dante, you say, I believe in this. I believe like this is how I govern my life. Darren, I believe in this. This is how I govern my life. Malika. But when you try to say, Steve, I believe this, so you shouldn't do that. That's when the problems start. And that's when I don't like that. Like if you want to use whatever religion you pick to make you feel better about what's going on right now, makes you feel better about what's going to happen in the future, makes you feel better about when you're going to die. That's great. That's perfect. That whatever makes you feel better and whatever you believe in, that is totally 100% fine. It's just my issue is when. Like to bring it back to the Corona thing, when the fact that people need religion in their lives, like people that, because I mean I have no numbers to back this up, but I would assume America as a whole identifies as Christian. I would assume like the people who are super duper in the church and who really consider themselves as like super religious, uber duper religious, are probably on a lower economic scale, right? So like, for that hope. Yeah, they looking for that hope. Basically, is the better way of saying it. So like when I see pastors nowadays say, "Oh, we still gonna have church. I still need to come to church." You sit there praying on people who have no hope. I don't like stuff like
money.
That's money. Gross and that's disgusting. The mega church thing, I kind of struggle with that too. I mean, like,
I hate it.
Like, yeah. I mean, like,
I go to one has its ups and downs.
I can't stand mega church, bro. I can't stand them.
But like, yeah, that's kind of what my thing is. Like, as long as you use it to make yourself the best person, that's fine. It's just when you start trying to use it to throw barbs at other people, that's when I get really, really uncomfortable, right?
Incentives and stuff like that to make money to operate, I get that. But when you have the pastor pulling up in a Porsche and he's got an elevator in his house and he's got this big mansion, and then he's telling the little guy that's sitting in the seventh row all the way in the back because they couldn't get to the church because they took the bus on time, because like everybody else, that they need to believe and they need to have hope and they need to keep moving forward. It just, the messages don't hit me the same way, and I think it's a lot of, it's very hypocritical to the masses that, hey man, like you got this guy telling me that I can do all this and I need to believe in his word, but then it's just like, why are you know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing in the Bible. Like there's clearly passages in the Bible about, you know, the meek shall inherit the earth. These passages are meek.
I think.
So, like,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say if the church is, if all that comes from tithing or love offerings, that's one thing. But like if it's like, you know, you go if you see like late at night on TV, you be flicking channels and they'll be selling holy water. Or if you buy this, your life will be better. Like that stuff is nasty. No, I've never done it. You want to do it,
but you still think that time should be used for that?
Listen, man. Like if
I think they should have a salary,
just as a, I mean, you do. The pastor provides a service, right? And his service is to provide the people a better connection to God, right? So if having they need a living wage to do that, so I don't have a problem with that. It's like if you can organically make money from donations or from love offerings, sure. But if you're selling stuff like, oh, buy this right here, and you'll never have problems again in your life, or you're sitting there pressuring people, poor people for money, and that's the way you're making money. That's.
How you feel about you? What if you're selling like Bibles and you're selling like you look at TD Jakes, you're selling, you know, TD Jakes. You said TD Jakes is now a brand. It's not a church per se. It's a brand. I
think it's important from early on to distinguish between the messenger and the word that's being given, because at the same time, men, and we all know and we've all grown to know that men is corrupt. Whether you're the most religious man or whether you're like the most sinful man, quote unquote. Like, man is corrupt. We have lust, we have desires, we have greed, we have so many things that are wrong with us, and all we have is this word that we've been given, and that we kind of mold our lives afterwards too. And so, like, I think, like, once you distinguish, like, hey, this guy's just a man that's delivering a word, because, like, you can get a good word from a guy who has so many issues. You can get a good positive lesson or message from somebody who has messed up in their life, who's done something so wrong, who's experienced these things, and still go on about your day and use that lesson in positivity. Like, it doesn't always have to be just because that person is corrupt or whatever. Like, it doesn't mean you're necessarily corrupt. It doesn't mean the whole faith is corrupt. It doesn't mean the being that they're worshiping is corrupt, whether it's God, Allah, or whatever. Like,
and let's also say most churches aren't mega churches. I feel like mega churches make up a very small. But most mega, like, that represents a very small, like, percentage of churches, I would assume. Right. That's probably like a negligible, you know.
And so, even in the small churches, like, when you're making money off people, like, it breeds, like, for a normal person, it can breed corruption. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can breed somebody who's saying, hey, we y'all should contribute this, y'all should contribute that. Like, whenever money's involved, corruption is surely to follow. You get what I'm saying? Like,
I will say, like, kind of like with the billionaire debate that's always on Twitter. If the pastor is a millionaire, though, I do think that morally looks bad, right? I mean, like, if he's making like millions, he should be reinvested. I feel like his personal wealth, like his investment, should be to the church, not to himself. Like, having planes and Porsches and all that. Like, I mean,
I agree.
I
agree.
Your pastor will only be able to have one Porsche.
One push.
Like, I don't think he should be struggling for anything. I mean, if he pulling in 100, but however pastor gets paid, if he's pulling like 150K, whatever, okay, that's fine, whatever. But like, he shouldn't be like in no top 1%. He shouldn't be one of the highest paid.
I just don't think churches should be businesses. I just feel like they're
church always going to be.
But they have to be.
Anytime money's involved, business is involved. You get what I'm saying? Like,
I get it. They have to be a business on paper, but they don't need to be operated as such, because then you lose the authenticity of the message, and you know what I'm saying? Like, it more becomes a transaction than it becomes a
I ain't gonna lie, I used to think like that, but then the more I just kind of, the older I got, the more that I just learned the way the world works.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, if it don't work like a business, it just ain't gonna work. That's just kind of the way it is. Like, if you ain't thinking like that, it's going. I mean, what you're thinking about is it's a romanticized notion of what it should be. Like, it's perfectly right, but I mean, like,
yeah, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, I mean, we might not want America to be super capitalist, but it is, right? I mean, so you can't change that.
Yeah, I'm not saying it sucks. Like, I mean, vote for a socialist, but that's all you can do.
Yeah. But I'm not going to knock it at the same time. As much as we got so much to say, I mean, like, as much as corrupt it can get, as much as we know, like, man can be corrupt, like having a religion or having something that you can look to kind of bring you out of something that's something that balances your scale of good versus bad can bring you a lot of stuff, and we can't knock that. Like, whether it's whatever religion it is, and that's why I've grown to kind of not something that people were raised on. Like, if somebody was raised a Muslim and that's all they know, and they know this is the religion I know, this is what my parents know, like, hey, I'm doing good according to how I was raised. Like, I think one thing that's similar with all religions is kind of like, well, most religions, I ain't gonna say all, but most religions is kind of like the balance of good and bad, the good forces, the bad forces. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's something, and I don't know if that's human created or whatever, but like, that's something that we all cling to. And I think, like, you can't knock somebody from bringing something, for kind of looking to something to bring them out of their whatever woes they're having, whatever troubles they're having, like, to look to that. So that's kind of where I've
it's not sports, right? It's not sports. Right. Like, I'm a Christian or I'm a Redskins fan, and you're a Muslim, you're a Dallas. It's not like that. It shouldn't be like it shouldn't be antagonistic like that. Like, you know what I mean? And,
the Eagles are the Buddhists.
Hey, man, don't do that. Don't do that.
I mean, again, Buddhist, that's not really, I don't even think that's like a religion. It's like a belief system or anything. There's like no God in Buddhism. You kind of just be a good person, and everything else will kind of everything else will go the right way.
Aaron's 1/16 Buddhist.
Yes, my grandfather was Buddhist. But
I have no choice.
Like, I mean, again, I'm looking at your outline, Dante. You're talking about separate, like, church and state. I mean, like, that's not even a question. There should be separation.
Oh yeah, no, I disagree. I see that. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, like, that. That's where I was going with earlier. Like I said, when you start trying to make, you're trying to base like laws that affect everybody based off your belief system. That's where the problem.
No, I'm about to say, bro, I was about to say I go to church every Sunday, but I mean, for me personally, I always think like, to use this as an example, like abortion. People should be able to just have that choice. It doesn't mean
to do whatever they want. Regardless of religious.
Yeah, it doesn't
and also,
that's one example. Yeah.
Another thing I will say, I mean, like, and I don't know, maybe you guys talk this. I don't think there's anything wrong if you believe in something for you to have parts of it that you don't agree with.
Yeah, that's what I say.
I know that's a controversial thing. You're supposed to think whatever you believe in is infallible. But I feel like there's nothing wrong with saying, I believe in the overall message in this, but this little piece right here, I don't know if I mess with that, right?
I mean, bro, it's happening. Like, it's happening.
Because I mean,
that's the way.
Because like, I mean, now I'll definitely say, like, I respect everybody's religion, but there's certain parts of every religion that I do not respect. Like, it's just something I didn't know. I do not stand for that. That is wrong. I'm not gonna sit there and call them out. I mean, but like, when you start talking about, I guess I will. Like, talk about like people's sexuality, or like there's some parts of religion where like there's parts of religion to talk about. It's okay to kill people of XYZ or it's XYZ conditions, or
they was killing like I don't know what.
That's and that's not just that's Christianity, Islam, all like. There are certain things in religion that, like, no matter what, I feel like if you're a good person, you can't sit there and be like, I subscribe to that too, right? So, I mean, because I used to be one of those people like, oh, you're Christian, but you don't hate gay people. Oh, well, you must not be. No, I don't. I like, you can't think like that anymore. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong. You don't have to be all in on something I don't think that's a condition to getting to heaven. And if it is, damn, because I mean to say, I don't think anybody would have that.
I think it does go into what you're exposed to. Like I said, like, people grow up not exposed to other religions or other beliefs, and like they think they're doing the right thing. How can you possibly like be judged for that? You know what I'm saying? Like, especially and like a lot of the older generation. One thing that I'm noticing now, like with the exposure to so many tools that we can access for information, like a lot of people are changing their views, especially when, like you brought up the whatever your sexual orientation is. Like a lot of people are becoming more liberal with that because they know, like, hey, like maybe like it was a different way of thinking about things now. Like things have changed. Like I can embrace this now. Like so people are changing, like, in exposure to information, which was kind of reassured me that, hey, you can't like really bias somebody based on their belief. You get what I'm saying? Like if somebody believes certain thing, you can't really bias that.
Or they finally looked up in their choir and they saw that like 50% of the niggas in the choir are probably gay.
Yeah,
that too.
That's some of the people that are deepest
Directors always. Yep.
Some pastors too. Shit.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna hold you.
Wow, jeez, okay, yeah, but yeah, I mean that's real shit though. That's real shit. I mean, and you know that's the thing. Like, you can't push beliefs on people because, like, I mean, you know, and you can't tiptoe around this either. Like, Christianity was pushed onto us, right? So I mean, you know, like, Christians will argue with people will argue with you and say that, oh, you know, Christianity existed in Africa, you know, back in, I don't know. I really don't know if the actual like facts like back that up, but you know, like a lot of people are Christian because when they were ripped from their homes and taken into Chesapeake Bay and sold in the 1600s.
Or the nice missionaries were there too.
Yeah,
very rarely,
you know,
very rarely
went in there and spread disease and pestilence in the name of God. Like, I bet I'm not gonna.
That was funny.
Well, no, because the missionary thing,
so effectively.
The missionary thing still, that thing, the missionary thing, I still kind of have an issue with. I mean, depending on the situation, I do have an issue.
I mean, yo, look, if you're just like we talked about it before, if you're a missionary, you go to a random island, you know, whatever happens. But you get to said island.
When you're sitting there and going bothering people, it don't bother nobody else. Like that's kind of nuts to me. But
we watched the whole movie about that one time.
Yeah, and they came in and the fucking Indians got. I don't know that they weren't Indians.
No, the native people there killed them.
The native people sat there and fucking
speared them.
Yeah. But damn, we're already at 1 hour 5 minutes in. I feel like we can go a little bit more on this, but yeah,
we had the long Rona. Sorry, we stayed on that Rona very long.
How much do you think your family is the driving force behind your beliefs? It's got to be the whole thing, right? I mean, like that's what it is.
Most
like,
certainly
they introduced you to it.
Yeah, introduce you to
family that drives.
I give you that.
Because, like I said, if you.
But I mean, I feel like.
Go ahead, Nante.
No, I was going to say, go ahead. You good?
I was saying, if you growing up around a certain thing, like that's all you know. Like, what else do you know? Especially if you in a community, like we went. Like I grew up like with Christian parents, went to a Baptist school. You get what I'm saying? Like that's all I knew for like a long time until I started researching kind of what other things were about and kind of being exposed to people who believe certain things. Why are they different than me? Why do they feel certain things? And it turns out they were raised the same way. They were raised with parents who feel a certain way about certain things. You get what I'm saying? And I think that one thing that transcends like a lot of what we're talking about is like good and bad. And I think that's one thing that's kind of balanced out amongst all. And I could be wrong. I haven't studied all religions, but like one thing that's balanced out against most religions is the concept of good and bad. And people who live good lives kind of get rewarded certain things. There's a hierarchy. There's people who do certain things. And so, I mean, like, as long as you're kind of like walking that path and like living good, like I can't fault somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Like, at the beginning, end of the day, this the book, the Quran, the Bible, all that is just about being a good person for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So, like, and I think everybody can describe to that to be a good person.
I think it's when people twist it to being something bad, like you know what I'm saying. Like you look at like ISIS or you look at. You know,
Ku Klux Klan.
people who blow up abortion clinics.
Yeah, everybody. There's always the evil force that would twist it to the name of religion, put in the name of religion to push a radical cause.
Dante, you said something. You said something way back. Like I don't know if it was your mom who said it or whatever. But like even if you don't subscribe to a certain belief, but like it's not a bad book of principles to live by.
Yeah, that's what my mom. Yeah, in terms. Yeah. So I don't know in terms of like the whole like somebody's wrong. That's what she said. Yeah, even if you end up being wrong, at the end of the day, it wasn't like a bad set of principles to live your life.
Right.
Yeah, that's like the biggest thing, which I definitely do agree with. Yeah, but
like I mean, like you said, it's what your family is what you like. We live in a Christian school. I mean, you know, and
Your family starts you off, but it's still.
But I do think even like you, at some point though, you do need to sit there and say, all right, like I said, like, all right, this is what I believe, and you know, just reevaluate, make sure that fits what, you know, the person that you are, right? I mean, the one thing that always sticks out to me, I'll never forget. It was 2000. We were like in 6th grade. It was whatever the 2004 election with Bush and John Kerry. We had like a mock election in some class. I don't remember where it was.
That shit.
And I voted Bush solely because he was against gay marriage. And I look back at that and I'm just like, wow.
But
holy
think
shit!
about it. A lot of people.
That's what I was told to do in school, though, right? That's the way. So I mean,
because
I mean, you see how you grown up from that. A lot of people have your mindset as an adult who can vote.
Yeah. So I mean, like, that's just the way I, you know, like. Yeah, so I mean, I just think about stuff like that. Like, I mean, like, wow, man, like that's freaking nuts. But I mean, listen, we had teachers who said a lot of problematic shit. Well, basically, our high school was trying to funnel us to Liberty University right now, and we've seen what Liberty University is doing right now. So I mean,
they definitely, we was like a recruiting ground for them.
Yeah, so I don't know. Everybody should just like, I don't know, just whatever works for you.
Find what works. I'm about to say, find what works best for you at the end of the day.
I just say works for you. Like that is perfect. If whatever works for you, like it makes you happy, and that's always my default. It might be a cop out, but like whatever works for you, that's all that matters at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It works for you and your family, and you know if you want to raise your kids out that way, that's totally fine. I do think, I mean, if they want to look at they want to think of something a different way, I think, you know, you got to respect that too. Just respect other people and just respect yourself. That's
you respect them. You can still pray for them if you want to. Nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
I pray for them all the time.
Do whatever works for you. Not for real. So. Like if that's prayer, if that's whatever meditation, whatever you have, like just do what works for you. But like I said, I think good versus evil kind of like transcends all that and. Can't knock somebody for doing their own thing. You know what I'm saying?
I'm about to say, man.
End of the day, they're gonna choose theirs. You gonna choose yours. You know.
Yeah, man.
Be good to one another. We all stuck together.
Basically, I'm about to say, like that's the most basic thing in the Bible. And you can't argue with that. Like you cannot unless you're like a sociopath. But you cannot argue with just be good to other people. Right?
Be good to other people, man.
So I mean,
like we all know good versus bad. We all feel guilty when we do bad shit. Well, some people, I don't know. Most people.
I would hope so. Yeah. If all your neurons are working upstairs, you know, and you're not Chris Benoit, you know, I think it's fine. But you know,
R.I.P.
But yeah, we are at 70 minutes right now. Damn.
Oh yeah, 71. This gonna be fun.
2-hour mark.
Yeah. All right, we're waiting for Malik to come back so we can bring us into a landing position. We're circling the runway right now.
Yo, why I thought he was making a cat sound at first. I thought this man said meow.
I thought he did.
I'm an idiot.
Kind of sick foreplay is going over there.
I was just trying to call him the P word. It's cool.
I wasn't, but if you would like me to, I can.
That's not very godly of you.
The Lord says nothing about calling nobody P word.
Ooh, Mr. Non-Religion taking the shots at me. Ooh,
sheesh.
What do you know?
Genesis 1.
You about to say?
I still know plenty about the Bible. You can't forget that shit. We had the same class for 12 damn years.
It's in your memory,
bro. It was Joe.
A person that don't read the Bible could probably tell you more. I mean, the person don't believe in God could probably tell you more about the Bible than you could, because they spend their time trying to destroy it. So basically,
you must know on your.
I got what you're saying. Yeah.
What they say? Demons know Jesus too. Ain't that what they say?
Oh my.
No, I know people like who like really are against the Bible, and like they can just quote random verse. Oh yeah, well in Galatians 5:17.
I'm like, bro, look, man, I don't go out of my way to tear down you. Just leave me alone. Yeah. That's what we just discussed.
I mean, that's immature. Like I look back, like when I used to mess with Dante, and I was just immature. Like I did that when I was like 23, like that's just like a childish thing to do. Like, ooh, I'm counterculture. I'm different. Ooh.
And I look at the fact that I didn't punch him in the face as I was mature.
We just had some heated ass conversations about this shit.
Yeah. And I want to apologize to you guys for that, because that was corny. That was really corny.
It is what it is.
Respect.
All right, bring the plane in for a landing.
All right. So after that very long but good discussion, this your man Shut Up Cole here. Got a blue chew? Got a blue chew?
Oh, here you go.
This man's unruly DW.
Hey, it's your boy Malik, Davey Geek and Leak.
And it's your boy Darian, aka Clark Kent, and these are the Hentations.
Damn, that's smooth.